Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday or sad Sunday, however you want to see it. F1 fans, we are here at the hitting the Apex post race show. Obviously, talking a little Spanish Grand Prix, and of course, some teams may be a little disappointed, some teams a little happy, some teams a little lucky again. What's going
Okay.
What's going on, Vish and Nick? How you guys doing?
Doing all right. Doing all
Yeah,
right.
I'm glad you're doing all right.
Yeah, I will say, as far as Spanish Grand Prix go, that one was about as entertaining as they get. They're usually fairly processional, but I
Yeah,
think
they're
this
Yeah.
is a
usually fairly boring, but this one actually had some twists and turns that made it kind of exciting.
Or no twist and turns for Charles Leclerc after I don't know lap 23 or
yeah.
24,
He
whatever it
ran out of
was.
twists and turns, and
He
Sainz
ran
had
out of them.
had too many
Yeah.
twisting
What a
and turning
shame.
on one corner.
What a shame. So the biggest storylines, right? And of course, we're only on for a little while. Biggest storylines number one, and has nothing to do with me being a fan, but Leclerc's DNF, very disappointing. Kind of running away at some point was running away with the race. He was so out in front. Of course, after they pitted, you saw Max kind of be within the 6 or 7 seconds. So it could have been a nice race there. A nice little battle between those two. I just feel like Leclerc had great pace, was driving brilliantly, right? Like there was no issues. Wasn't going into the gravel as our good friend Carlito was once again, and I just think that was probably the biggest storyline. Aside from that, listen, man, that battle between 2, 3, and 4 for some time before that was interesting. It was fun. It was George Russell again, right there.
Yeah.
No luck this time, Vish, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, some luck. Leclerc blew up, and
Well,
and
Uh,
right.
uh,
That's
and
aside from
and
that.
and
no.
and, and Max spun and then had a broken DRS, so he couldn't overtake him. I mean that did happen. No, but he did a great job defensive driving.
He really did.
He was
Probably over the line a little bit, not with Max, but with Perez. Those first two times Perez tried to overtake him, where he went to the right and dove all the way across the left. That's not allowed, which is why it's funny now because they can't whine to the FIA.
Right.
So instead, Christian Horner got onto Max's radio to say like, watch Russell, he's moving illegally or whatever. It's just like, dude.
Typical
But,
Christian
no.
Horner,
But
right?
it's smart from Russell because the only thing you're going to get on that is a warning the first time.
Right.
You only get penalized. So wait for them to warn you. Otherwise, keep doing it. And they didn't warn him, so he was smart. I'm going to keep doing this
Absolutely.
until they warn him, and then obviously don't do it because he'll get a penalty. So no,
Right.
it was a defensive driving clinic in terms of just how you keep a faster car behind you. He definitely, I think, was pretty clearly aided by Max not having DRS, especially with how easily Checo dusted him once Max was out of the way. So
Yeah,
I will say though that even when Max, well, even there was a lap where Max had DRS, and then it looked like he passed him, but then George Russell recovered really well and was still able to hold him off for another couple of laps. So I mean, his defense of like that of holding on to P1 there for a few laps, even if Max's DRS was a bit spotty, I mean, he was still fairly good. I mean, he kind of showed me that, he actually is, a pretty good racing driver, man. It's not just like him being like if you put him in a Red Bull, if you put him in a Ferrari right now, he could be up there with, up there with Max and up there with Leclerc, I think.
yeah, I totally disagree on that point. Just they've shown. I mean, those
but
are
I
guys
but
that
I
have
think
won multiple races.
he'd be a great number two.
Well, I think he could be a number one. I'm just saying I'm not. He could be a number one, right? I mean, he's
Sure.
young. It's just he has not shown anything. I mean, Max is the defending world champion. What are we talking about? We're not going to just annoy Russell there because he finished third.
Well, I mean,
Come on. I mean, so I think there's a level. This is why we always get to these debates because you guys exaggerate this George Russell stuff, and then I lose my mind. Man, he finished
Well,
third,
I'm
30
gonna be
seconds
honest
behind
with
the
you.
top. Like,
I'm still gonna. I mean, listen, but at the end of the day, guys, I mean, Russell's finishing the top 5 every single damn race.
This was a
we
great
gotta give him
drive,
some
and even
credit,
even
yeah.
yeah, and even without Leclerc blowing up, he's finishing fourth. So like he did a great job like taking Sainz. I mean, we talk for days about how Sainz is just completely off it right now. He had his anti-stall on the start. Russell dusted him, and that's how he got in front in the first place. And Obviously, then Sainz spun, fell further back. He just had a nightmare race. But you know, you can, yeah, no, I mean, Russell was on it today, and that car is definitely improved, but it's not. He still overperformed the car, so it was a great.
And that's the point I think that we're trying to come across. He's outperforming that car, which makes him, you know, a pretty decent driver. Look, again, he's not he's not Leclerc, he's not Max. We get it, right? He's not even Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton,
not even.
You know, he's not even Lewis
greatest
Hamilton.
driver in Formula One history. Are you sure?
Calm down. I'm talking about right now in this year's car. I'm talking about this year's car. I'm not talking about all time. Of course, not all time. That would be a stupid comment to make. We're talking about this year in the Mercedes car. He's outperforming that car, and he's driving really well. In certain instances, he's gotten lucky in most of them. However, this was a time where and again, he's not Leclerc this year. He's not Max this year. But he's still in the top 5, and he's still scoring points, and he's in the podium now twice. I mean, that's big for him. The ones that I think that are more disappointing, especially in today's race, I think that even though he finished in the podium, I think Checo has been a little bit so you know recently. Obviously, Carlos Sainz has had the most disappointing.
Yeah, to me, it's Carlos.
He's had the most disappointing season. Period.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is his home Grand Prix, and he tossed it away. Like Checo's just getting roasted by a much better. Yeah, I mean, the Hamilton winning driver of the day. We can talk about how.
Yeah.
That was, but Checo did what a number 2 driver does, which is finish second when the other team screw up.
Right.
I mean, that's his ceiling anyway. And if Max had crashed or something, he would have won the race. That's what you want for your number 2 driver, right? Yep. Sainz, and Russell was great and all, had no business finishing behind a Mercedes. And he actually was going to finish behind both of them until Lewis had that water leak issue.
Yep.
I mean, what's he doing?
Well, and even Russell had an issue too.
I'm pretty sure Hamilton's is worse because Hamilton basically backed off all the way entire. In fact, Bottas was catching him again at the end. But they both kind of I think backed off a little bit, but I think Hamilton had to worse.
He did. So I mean, again, I guess we can talk about the biggest disappointment for both of you guys. You obviously know, obviously mine might be the same for you guys. What's the biggest disappointment for this race?
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, seeing Leclerc go down because of a power issue and not because he like crashed or got taken off the track or whatever. I mean, he was cruising. He definitely had a legitimate shot at finishing in P1. So to see him kind of go out like that after the race he was having, you know, it kind of sucks. But a bigger disappointment to me, you know, and this is me being a McLaren fan, is freaking Daniel Ricciardo, man. That guy just had a terrible race. He was what, P9 to start the race and ended up finishing in what, P12, P13. Like, that's just a huge disappointment. And honestly, people should really consider if he is even a decent Formula One driver right now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna rip on Ricciardo for this performance. That car's not good enough. And once you get into the midfield, like you pit and you get stuck behind someone, your race is ruined because they don't have the pace to go through. It's kind of the exact opposite of what Hamilton was doing, where it didn't matter who was in front of him, he was just gonna get past. Like the McLaren's just not good enough. And actually, given that the way the strategies worked out, where this 3-stop ended up being the optimal one, you know, starting further up for a midfield team actually looked to be a disadvantage if you look at how the standings rolled out at the end. Like the Haas has dropped way back too, because you end up battling with, rather than just getting clean air at the beginning and getting off to a good start, you end up kind of slicing and dicing up top and then shred your tires up to pit early, and it throws the whole strategy off.
With Magnussen, I mean, he just ran into Lewis and that pretty much drove his race. And then Mick Schumacher, he only finished P11. He started P10, so it wasn't like a terrible race.
So Mick Schumacher actually finished 14th.
Oh, see that.
And again, some of the cars that finished ahead, like the Austins, like Vettel ended up in 11. It just turned out that the way that optimally where you wanted to do was do a pit stop with like 10 laps left. Those cars at the back that were like, I'm going to run long to start with because I don't give a crap, ended up like benefiting from that. So that I think that hurt Ricciardo a lot. But yeah, he's consistently finishing behind Norris, which isn't great. Like in qualifying most of the time too. Not this weekend at least. But to me, it's I mean, Jazz already mentioned, it's Sainz. Sainz had an opportunity to win this race. He had a car to win it, and he finished 45 seconds behind Max, whose car was broken.
Yeah, that was brutal, man. That was definitely. It's just disappointing to see him struggle like that when he had, like you said, Vish, he has the car. He has the car to compete, and I mean, obviously Leclerc's DNF is heartbreaking because I think even if let's say it becomes a battle with Max at the end and Max pulls ahead, the last final laps. Which, listen, Max again, fastest guy on the track again. I mean, he was unbelievable today. But and I think that the reason why Leclerc had such a huge gap was because of Russell fighting him off for so long, or fighting. Was it him? Yeah, he was fighting him off, right?
Yeah, it was both things though, because it was also that Max spun it, so he put himself in that position because he definitely his DRS being broken. Definitely hurt. He would have easily passed Russell. You could see him kind of creeping right there, and then just that was the lap it wouldn't open.
Yeah, that was tough.
But he's not in that position. DRS doesn't matter if he doesn't spin the car because he was way up the field. And then, it would have been interesting because it would have all been track position, right? Because Leclerc definitely, if he stays in front, Max with that DRS, there's no chance he's passing him. And what Ferrari had done well is they took that gift and saw Max getting held up, and they had opened up a wide enough gap where he was able to go really long on those softs he started on. So the way the race unfolded, we were talking earlier about how some of the back markers went longer and benefited from it. Mm-hmm. He was up front with that advantage.
I think he didn't pit till what, lap 20, 21, something like that?
It was very late, and he
went the longest.
He had gone the longest because he was able to.
Right.
Because Russell was backing the field up. And so they took advantage of that. So I do think at some point Max might have ended up in front of him just because Max was pitting earlier and then coming back out, and they would have been out of sequence. But I think what we would have probably seen is about 10 or so laps to go of Ferrari on fresh tires with DRS probably overtaking for the win there. And probably ending up winning by like 10 seconds because Max's tires were gone at the end. Because
you saw when he pulled up into the winners, I guess. Whatever, you saw those tires were beat up, man. They were beat up. So, I mean, all around, though, still pretty exciting at some points for, hey, quiet down, lady. Pretty exciting still for a race that really shouldn't have too much excitement anyways. So we go from...
Yeah, just a couple other points, double points finish for Alpine. That's definitely good for them. And
Ocon drove really nicely, too.
Yeah, and then Alonso recovered back, and remember he was out in Q1 yesterday. Recovered back into 9th.
Started 20.
Yeah, he started back. Yeah, and then also Bottas continues to get really strong performances out of that Alfa Romeo. They actually put him on the wrong strategy. They went 2-stop, and he finished up there in I believe 6th. So
if he had a 3-stop, he definitely could have been competing for P4 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kind of errors. I mean, Mercedes completely put Hamilton on the wrong tire to start, which is why Magnussen was in a position to hit him in the first place. And because he actually got a great start and he actually pulled up alongside Sainz, but those mediums aren't going to heat up, and that's why he lost grip and fell back, and then Magnussen hit him. But like, if they'd started him on the same tire as everyone else in the field, he would have been way up the field as well. So there was some tactical errors by several teams.
So let's show the standings one more time there. I don't know, for some reason I can't open up my there we go, my computer. Here we go. So Manny, if you could pull up the driver standings first. Yeah, and there we go. So it looks like this is the full standings. Max overtakes Charles for the lead in the World Championship by 6 points. Again, that's what I'm saying. Even if they would have been fighting at the end, Leclerc would still have the advantage slightly, but he still have the advantage.
Yeah, I mean, this is wiped out kind of, one of the reliability fails that Max had earlier.
Definitely. And then you've got rounding out the top 10. It's Max, Leclerc, Perez, Russell in 4th. With another solid showing. Carlos Sainz moving was it moving up to fifth, or he
No, he's
he
been
stayed
there.
at fifth.
He's
Yeah,
been
he
there,
stayed at
yeah.
fifth. Fifth, Lewis Hamilton behind them by about 19 points. Then you've got Lando, Bottas, Ocon, and who's at number 10? If you can move it up a little bit, can't see it. Who's at number 10? And number 10 is Magnussen. Okay, so the Haas is still in the top 10, which is nice to see. And everything else rounding out the rest, it's Sonoda, Ricardo, Gasly, Vettel, Alonso, Albon, Stroll, Zhu Guanyu or Guanyu Zhu, however you want to say it. Mick, Nico is still in the top 20.
Well, he's going to
baby.
be there. Well, I mean, those are the 0 points.
Obviously, I know.
So yes, Latifi and Mick have been
solid drivers.
Are sitting there battling Nico for last place.
Last couple of races, had chances to score his first points. He just, it hasn't been. He hasn't capitalized on it, or he crashed into Vettel in Miami, so that kind of did it for him there too.
And let's look at the constructors real quick, Manny. If you could pull that up before we head on out of here.
Yeah, that's where you're going to see a big kind of change from.
That's a huge change
because the Red Bulls with taking maximum points.
Go. Yeah, so the Red Bull has taken. I don't want to say a commanding lead, but this could be, like you said, Vish, earlier. They could start running away with it now if Ferrari doesn't figure out something with. Well, first of all, Sainz doesn't figure out what the hell he's doing. Reliability issues. I don't think we're gonna have it. I think that was just kind of well, again, I don't know.
Well, so again, I think one of the things we gotta remember is we're still like kind of in the front of the development of these cars. That's why you're seeing stuff like Max's DRS not opening. Like that's a juvenile error, to be honest. Like that should not be happening. You're seeing like the Mercedes having heating issues and water leaks. You're seeing 2 Ferrari engines actually stop because Zhao's did as well. So, but they're evolving these cars. So there'll probably still be some reliability issues. I don't think it's going to favor one team over the other, though. And this was kind of, like I said, balancing out some of the reliability issues Red Bull had, because Red Bull, as we talked about on the show on Wednesday, has been pushing the envelope more. They've been doing those upgrades more. Ferrari's car was more stable, so it's more reliable. Now they put a bunch of upgrades on it and kaplu.
Well, and Ferrari, and obviously I think the big deal is Ferrari did bring some, I don't know if significant upgrades, but they brought a lot of upgrades.
And they got to be encouraged by the pace there, because they were definitely quick. I guess the one thing we don't know is Max, again, with the DRS issue, had to abandon, or I guess he said he had no power, whatever happened yesterday, did not get his last qualifying run in. Yeah. And again, that's where Sainz, you got to finish ahead of him. Like it's just, and that's where I think we're likely to see more separation, unless Sainz like gets it going in the constructors, because Checo is definitely not competitive with Leclerc and Max, but he is consistently picking up those points when there's opportunities.
Yep,
and he did that again today.
Do you think Sainz is just afraid to push the envelope on that car, or like what is it with? Is it more of a mental thing? Is it just that he's making, as you mentioned, like some juvenile errors as a driver as well? Like what is it with him that's not letting him? Because he should be, like you said, Vitch. He's had the pace. He's a hell of a driver when he's on. He's a hell of a driver. So what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I think he's in a funk, and sometimes you just. I was hoping Miami would snap him out of it. Like, I mean, you could see the difference today, right? Like Hamilton got hit, dropped all the way to the back, because like we should just retire the car and save the engine, right? And you're thinking this guy is he's going to check out, like, and not even Instead, he was one of the fastest cars on track the entire race. Like Sainz spins, right, goes off in the gravel. His car was fine. He's in one of the fastest cars on the track. You just got to put your head down and put in just fast lap after fast lap after fast lap, and you'll end up back at the front. That's what Hamilton did from the back. And I don't know what's going on with Sainz. It's in his head now, I think. Like he should have still, worse, finished third.
Yeah. It's more of a confidence thing for him, I think. DNFing like the 2 races in a row before Miami, and then he got P3 in Miami, right? He got P3.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I felt like that, like you said, Bish, that should have raised his confidence up a little more. But then I think him spinning out again into the gravel, I think all of a sudden that confidence that he had going into the race kind of just quickly diminished. And then after that, he was like, he just basically kind of went through the motions for the rest of the race and was trying, especially after Leclerc went out, he was just trying not to, not finish as well.
Next up on the circuit is Monaco.
And so that's
it's 2
a
weeks,
whole
right?
different.
Another week break before?
No, it's next
it goes straight
weekend.
into
It's
it.
always Memorial Day. So if
Okay.
you're a race fan, Memorial Day is Monaco and then Indy 500. So.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, so that's a different track entirely. There's no overtaking opportunities. It's very tight. There aren't really good straights either. So this should be a Ferrari track.
Yeah,
it should be a Ferrari track though. It's all the twisty bits.
Yep. Qualifying is going to be more important than ever though, because if you don't qualify P1, P2, well, if you don't qualify, if Ferrari doesn't qualify P1, I mean, it's
also
it's hard.
So I think at the front this usually isn't an issue, but further down the field, I don't think these people can keep it out of the wall.
Because it's bottlenecks, right? It gets really
it's really
narrow.
tight. Well, I mean, you used to kind of be able to race at Monaco when the cars were a lot smarter. They're too wide for that track now, and there's no way to expand it because they're just driving in the street. So, so overtaking on track is difficult. But when like Latifi crashes, or whoever's opportunistic and kind of gets track position out of that, it's going to be a different situation because it doesn't you got to just hold track position all the time. That's kind of what the Monaco Grand Prix is about. So it'll definitely be a one stop because you'll never be able to make up the ground. You can be like 2-3 seconds slower in the car behind you and they still won't be able to pass you.
Right.
So it's really just, it's a one stop race. And getting on pole, leading into the first corner, and then just controlling the race. And Ferrari definitely has the car to do that. So
we're going to have an exciting show on Wednesday. I'll tell you that. So that'll be fun as we go right into another race, which is nice as opposed to having a break this time around. So make sure everybody stay tuned to that and follow us on Twitter at F1_5 Reasons. And of course on Instagram as well at Hitting the Apex 5R. Make sure you guys check us out there. Follow us on the YouTube channel, 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Smash the like button. And again, keep it locked here. Next Wednesday, 9:30 p.m., Hitting the Apex comes back at you as we preview the Monaco Grand Prix. See you guys later.